Just a couple bad weather fans representing New York, talking all things sports. Man, what could go wrong? We got Alex, who's a fan of the Knicks, and Mike of the Nets. The yin-yang of the tri-state, place your bets on the Yankees, Giants, Mets, or Jets. Yeah, you should listen if they're sparking your interest. If you made a vow to your team, don't break it. Bad weather fans is the relation.
That's right, this is Bad Weather Fans, episode number 149. Mike Biseglia, Alex Vanessowitz, and we've got a real special guest on this episode here on 149. Excited to announce that Metta World Peace is going to join us in a matter of moments. We had a fun time talking with Metta. It was a great experience, great guy. Alex, I know a lot of Nick, a lot of New York perspective that I think our fans will be really excited to hear about.
I thought we talked to Ron Artest. No, it was Metta World Peace. Oh, okay.
You actually had me for a split second. So I was like, did I do the wrong intro? I haven't slept in a while.
Yeah, it was great. We got into New York City basketball, very heavy with that stuff with St. John's, and we went into some of it in the Nets Pacers series and the Knicks stuff and Lakers and everything. So it was really, really fun.
Yeah, so we'll be speaking with Metta World Peace in a moment. I do want to mention for our fans that are listening to this podcast, we are recording this before Nets and Knicks on a Sunday. So as it stands at this moment, Nets on a 5-game winning streak, Knicks on a 6-game winning streak. So you just have some perspective when you go into this interview. And, best of luck to our teams. Kind of. Anyway, here's our conversation with NBA champion Metta World Peace. So it's Bad Weather Fans, and we're excited to have on the podcast Metta World Peace, NBA champion, all defensive player, all-star. Metta, thank you so much for jumping on Bad Weather Fans. We appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for having me. Thanks for reaching out. I'm excited to be on your podcast.
Yeah, and I know, obviously growing up in New York, but correct me if I'm wrong, Bulls fan. So what happened because I'm a Nets fan and I'm always like, anything Knicks related will piss me off. But what clicked for you where you said, New Yorker, but I gotta root for the Bulls?
And that's crazy. I think the same thing that clicked for every fan, even Messi has fans everywhere, right around the world. LeBron, Jordan have fans everywhere. And I think being from New York, Jordan, even though I was a Knicks fan, I'm kind of a loyal Knicks guy, honestly. I'm a loyal New York guy. And also, even when I went to St. John's, my major was architecture, right? And when I visited Notre Dame and Miami out of LaSalle Academy, I was going to pursue architecture. But St. John's didn't have a architect program that I wanted at the time, but it's New York City, and it's the same thing with the Bulls. Even though I always rooted for the Bulls, when they played against the Knicks, I almost had to turn my cheek, because I really wanted the Knicks to win, and I wasn't upset that Jordan won. It was one of those things.
In between, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So speaking of St. John's, you play with a mega star in Felipe Lopez in college. Did that prepare you to play with guys like Kobe in the pros, or was there any similarities there?
That's actually a good point. It actually did. It pushed me to up the level of my game. Obviously Felipe, we looked up to him when he was in high school. I was a sophomore. He was a senior. I actually got a chance to move up to varsity and be on the bench while we played against Felipe. Sophomore year, but with that being said, he was a mega star. I wish he would have came out of high school and went right to the NBA. I wish he would have never went to college, because they started triple teaming him, double teaming him, and it just made him look like he wasn't a good player. But yeah, obviously, for sure, it helped me. It prepared me.
That's an interesting point. You're saying that leap then. If you were talking to somebody, and I know the rules are a little different now, the way things have changed, would you say, depending on circumstance, don't go to school if it isn't the right fit and just make your way right to the league?
I feel many different ways about that, honestly. And that's a good question, because I'm almost going to contradict myself. On one hand, yeah, back then I would say Felipe, just leave. But now that I went back to school personally, after I retired, it's just incredible. My second win that I have in my career, just by going to school and learning stuff that I, would never have learned. So I would say if you would make the leap, I always tell people the knowledge, go to school, get because too often where athletes don't really have a second plan after that money's coming in. So yeah, as much as I want to say, yeah, just go to the NBA, I also want to keep in the back of people's mind, get an education.
Yeah. Do you think St. John's will ever get back to that popularity of those teams with, Felipe Lopez, Don Hamilton, and then you and all those guys that came through with Eric Barkley? Do you think it'll get back to that? And before that, Chris Mullin and everything, and Mark Jackson. You think it'll ever get back to that level in New York City again, or you think it's kind of the way it is for now?
I think they took it for granted. When Metta World Peace turned down Notre Dame, when I was on campus at the Golden Dome, pursuing architecture, when I was in Miami, right, we turned it down to come back and fight for the city because we love the city so much. People don't know what we go through in New York City as a New York City person, right? Especially as a basketball player. In terms of the travel, the train, the traffic, the people, the ups, the downs, right? People don't understand. And I think when you're not going through it, I went through it. I played in every street ball park in New York. I got multiple championships in street ball. And I'm so proud about New York City. And I kind of grew bitter because I felt like it wasn't being reciprocated back, right? And there's no knock on anybody, but what I'm gonna say is, you have to understand how important New York City basketball is to a person from New York City, right? And I think Fran Fraschilla understood that to the core, right? Even though Fran was a little wild child, I love Fran. He pushed me to the limit. Man, he pushed me to the limit. But with that being said, I think it can. We also have, as New York City basketball fans, I'm talking about New York City basketball fans, we got to protect basketball in New York City. We don't do a good job of protecting basketball in New York City. Now, and many people are living different lives. So I'm going to give you an example. When they took the music from street ball, it should have been uproar, but not many people are understood. Not many people knew what was going on. As a New York City baller, for one, when you take the music from the park because, foreigners started to move in from other countries and they started to say, the music is too loud. And I'm like, you're not even from here, by the way. Go somewhere else, because basketball is what we love. And what you saw was a byproduct of things like that. The basketball players coming out of New York City anymore, right? Our organizations are just not tough. Nobody's even staying in New York City, right? And from that perspective, I love New York City so much. I love Queensbridge so much, as everybody knows. Queensbridge is not its own city, but in the NBA, it says Metta World Peace, Ron Artest from Queensbridge, New York City. So I do love Queensbridge, but I also love New York, and I would love to see and I can go on and on about this because obviously it's the first time of me speaking to you guys.
Yeah.
And I think this is a great platform to do it. But I feel like we have to really put some politics behind New York City basketball and protect it. We have to cherish it because it has not been cherished. We're the mecca of sport, of basketball, and we're not even being respected anymore, right, for basketball, which is, it's not a big thing, right? But it is a big thing to us, right?
Exactly. And I think
we can make something happen.
I think that's really interesting you say that because, as I referenced, I'm a Nets fan, and the truth of it is growing up in Jersey, going to net games, 4,000 people in the crowd, and then I see what's going on 8 miles across the river, and it's there's nothing like going to the Garden to see a Knicks game. So I think in a weird way, that's where my bitterness and, in all playfulness comes into hand. So I wanted to ask you, because I was at this game and I know you fouled out with a couple minutes left. And to me, this is the greatest basketball game I've ever been at. And I don't think that this series gets enough love. I know, your Pacer teams a few years after 2002, of course, made those runs. But the 2002 Nets Pacers 1-8 series is one I don't think from an NBA perspective gets enough eyes on as one of the toughest best of fives I've ever seen.
That was incredible. I mean, that just validated to me that I was a hell of a player, honestly. Because let me tell you, because everywhere I played, I won for the most part, literally everywhere. And that was my first playoffs. When I got to Chicago, we were losing. I was miserable because I was 27-0 in New York City. We don't lose. So when I was in Chicago, I couldn't deal with it. And then when I got to Indiana, we went to the playoffs, right? I got there, and that series you're talking about was incredible. The first game, I had 14 points, but I twisted my ankle. So I had a bad ankle that whole series. And I remember Isaiah Thomas was like, man, you was playing so well. But I fought through it. I played every game, but I wish that ankle sprain would not have happened. I feel like it would have been a different outcome because and just my defense alone was just changing the game. I'm not to discredit everyone else that was on the team, like Reggie Miller and Jermaine O'Neal, but I'm just saying from that perspective, I remember the Nets went to the finals. That would have been incredible if that could have been us with Reggie Miller. But it was fun. I really enjoyed it.
That's great. That's great. Yeah. And also another thing is, as you know, with me being a diehard St. John's fan and a diehard Knicks fan, obviously draft night, I was like, it was all set up for it to be the perfect marriage. And we all know the story of what happened. Did you, when you finally got to play for the Knicks later on in your career, was it the same feel or was it kind of a different Knicks at that point?
Man, when I got to the Knicks, it was the greatest feeling of my life. Like, people don't understand. Like, and I don't think the Knicks understood how important that was for the city. Once again, right? People don't understand. Mm-hmm. Like, Metta World Peace coming to New York is huge. It's not like Messi huge, but it's New York City huge, right?
Yeah.
And people just didn't get it. I didn't get the treatment that I would have gave if I was in position to give somebody that was in my position that's coming back to New York. Somebody that's at the fabric of the basketball, never lost that Rucker Park, right? Championship of LaSalle, first championship since 1975. Riverside Church Hawks. Like, all this stuff is super important. This is the things that people don't get. And this is why, we can't get over the hump. I was supposed to be a Knick, but it was my fault. Let me add that. I was out partying the night before. I thought that it was a wrap, right? So I got really drunk the night before. I couldn't make the what it was called. I forget what it's called. Like, I haven't been, but when you go try out for the team in like April, whatever.
The combines, or
not even a combine, like a tryout.
The workouts, yeah.
I'm not a basketball guy anymore. I don't even know the terminologies anymore. But one of those tryout things,
like a pro day, like a pro day or something. I don't know, whatever.
Something like that. I gotta get the name. But I didn't make it, and I called my agent. I said, "Hey, I'm so hungover, and I can't make it. Please tell the Knicks sorry and give me another chance to try. I'll come back." And I thought, like, they'll have me back, and I'll just, but it wasn't like that. They just didn't invite me back. It was totally my fault, by the way. But with that being said, you got to let certain things slide,
Yeah, over time, right? And another up and down part of the Knicks, especially right now, is Julius Randle. And you played with Julius Randle when he was a kid with the Lakers. He started off low, then he was like the king of New York, then he was down, and now he might be on the way up, but fans are still kind of sketchy after last year with the thumbs down, shut the F up kind of thing. What are your thoughts on Julius Randle overall?
I love Julius. The work I put in with my brother, his wife, Kendall, his son, the work we put in together in the gym with the Lakers. Look at Julius's game. He, and I'm proud of where he's come from. I'm seeing it from a different lens because I saw Julius when he was rushing everything. Everything was rushing. Like he, like getting up 7 a.m. You got to catch a 7:05 train in New York City. Like just take your time, wake up early, and just walk.
Yeah.
And that's what we worked on, with being the Lakers and seeing the game, thinking intelligently when you're making your moves, and different things. And he took it to the next level. It's the same thing that Larry Bird did for me when I was at Indiana, along with Chuck Person. And I tried to go back to Julius and to see his game. I'm so happy about his game because he's maximizing it. He should have been like, $150 million player, that type of player. But he got a really nice contract, which I'm really happy about. And he played well in New York City, which is really hard to do. We know how many people are afraid of New York City. And this is the thing the fans have to understand. When you get a player like Julius Randle, you got to cherish that, because how many people don't come to New York City because they can't take the pressure, right? And this is why I thought they should have picked me, because I wanted the pressure. Like, I wanted to come to the city. I wanted to win a title. Not only that, I was open about it. So I want to win a title. Imagine saying you want to win a title in New York City and don't win it. Like, you're the laughing stock. And I was prepared to take on that. And I think Julius is. So the fans you want to build. You don't want to break down a player like Julius. Then you risk not winning the championship. When was the last time we won? 73?
Yeah. 73. Yep.
So if I was there, I would just be tough skinned. I wouldn't make, I always say this publicly because I don't speak to, Mr. Dolan in person a lot. But I would not make any fast decisions based off what the fans are saying. They're going to buy tickets anyway, as we know. They're going to buy jerseys anyway. Just let it go. Let them be mad, waking up in the morning with their cup of coffee. Just the Knicks is horrible. Let them do all that stuff. Let them stress themselves
That's me.
out.
Yeah.
Stress yourself out.
There he is.
And we just stay the course. Because I'm talking about the Knicks when I say we're, right? And as an NBA player, I feel a part of the Knicks organization, honestly, because I'm from New York and I'm proud of New York and I'm proud. And so we're at the center of this because if we don't win, that reflects on me too. I'm from New York City. I got to tell people I'm from New York and we don't have a championship. And I'm a proud New Yorker. So it's like certain things I just have to go out the room when they're talking about like the Golden State Warriors, all of a sudden, a dynasty. Yeah. I can't even be in those same conversations, right? So I want to see New York back on top for many different reasons. But mainly because, I just want to, before I die, I just want to see the Knicks win a championship. That's the main thing.
Me too.
It's interesting. So as a lifelong Net fan, New Jersey going to New York, like I was a little upset about it, but I understood from branding and making money and selling merchandise and getting big free agents, it was the right move. As a lifelong New Yorker and as a Knicks fan, did you like seeing the Nets in New York now, or was there something about it that felt kind of icky?
I'm jealous of that, like playfully. Or actually envious. I'm not a jealous person, but I do envy. And by the way, envy is not as bad as jealousy. Envy, whoever you envy, they should be happy because you want to be like them.
Right.
Right. So I envy that the Nets are in Brooklyn passionately because I wanted to be in Queens. So let's just get that out the way. I want an arena in Queens that I want to be a part of, by the way. So whoever's hearing this, don't do it without me. And also, I love the Nets. I feel like with the Nets going to Brooklyn, it's exciting. Like I'm a Nets fan, honestly. Also, like really, I'm more a Knicks fan, to tell you the truth. But I really am just happy that the Nets are in New York City. New York City obviously can support any amount of sports. We are the capital of sports. I don't care what anybody says. New York City is the capital of sports. And I'm proud of that.
And one of the Nets' star players who's been back this year, a little bit up and down with injuries, is Ben Simmons. He's somebody that's notable. And I know for you, and this is something that's passionate for Alex and I about mental health as well. And Simmons making his return, and he had those issues in Philly. We saw him take the year off. What's been your early impressions of Ben Simmons in his return now with the Nets?
Ben Simmons, obviously, me being one of the leaders in mental health, in American sports, which they don't really acknowledge, but I am on the board of UCLA psychiatric board, which I'm very grateful for. And going through what I've been through, I mean, my career at 23 years old, I got a call from, RIP Mr. Stern, that I might not even play again. So I was a tremendous amount of stress. Even though I was going to retire this before I got suspended because I was stressed out. So it is piling up. It's just like one thing after another. And had to finish my career. So, 4 or 5 years after the brawl, when I got suspended, it was rough years. People don't even understand. Then I was able to get through it, get over the hump. And then I was able to become a champion and be on that floor 40 minutes a game, stuff like that, alongside my RIP, my brother Kobe. And so with that being said, I kind of understand as an athlete that, you're going through stuff and you can't really take it anymore, no matter what it is you're going through. But I also, back in the days, we wouldn't miss games, right, for any mental health issues. So that was I'm not going to say that it is a debate. It is a debate that we had with the newer players, but we also got to be somewhat compassionate, with these players, because it's not easy. Look at all the players that actually suffered from back in the day, even from our era, that actually went into depression right? And when you go into depression, you're not paying attention to your finances, you're not paying attention to your family. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's important to take time off. But we can't have every player doing that, right? You can't have every player doing this. So I think like if a player does say that, you have to do a deep dive analysis, diagnosis, because you can't have every player doing it. But I think you're going to get this every now and then where a player might need some time off. I would encourage players to just get through it. You know, do your therapy every day. Go out on the court. Don't really worry about what the fans say because the fans will forget, right? The fans, America is a forgiving country, right? And also the fans are very forgetful. So get through the rough part and try to play the games if you can. But I'm happy Ben's back.
Yeah, me too. To be honest, I didn't want to see what he was going through. You know, I'm a Knicks fan who hates the Nets, so I was happy the Nets were kind of faltering, but I didn't want to see him go through what he was going through. One of you did have a viral Knick moment when you were here, Tyler Hansborough situation. You guys get tied up on a rebound, and he turns around, gets all mad, and he turns around until he sees who's behind him, and it's none other than Metta World Peace staring him down, and he's going, "Oh, sorry, Ron. Can you take us through that moment and why do you think that's gone so viral and it's still funny to Knicks fans?
It's actually really embarrassing to me, honestly, because he's a younger player, so I'm supposed to be a OG vet. I really wanted that confrontation. It looked like I was bullying them, and I'm like, man. But also, I respect Tyler as a young player. He turned around and he respected the OG, so I felt like I was a little bit immature at that time because, you know, I'm such a passionate player. And sometimes, you know, it's hard to get out that mindset. You know, everybody has different personality. I was more rough. I was an enforcer like Oakley, but I also was a talented scorer, right? Yeah. While being an enforcer. And sometimes I wish I could have been less of an enforcer, honestly, because like moments like that, I'm not proud of how that looks. And I felt really embarrassed. And Tyler's a tough player. I respect him as a man. He's not a punk. As we've seen Tyler, he's a respectful kid, man. He's a man now. He's a respectful man, and he's tough. He's not afraid of anybody, right? So it's not a thing where Tyler was afraid, you know, of Metta. He didn't back. I mean, he guarded some of the biggest centers in sports that was stronger than me, right? So I think it was more of a respect thing that came from him, and I was kind of embarrassed about that, honestly. And then another to add to that, when I got to New York, I was in my 15th season. I just came off a meniscus tear from the Lakers, and so I wasn't the same. I was still a good player, but my knee wasn't right. And I wanted to win a title, and people didn't understand. I was not thinking about anything else in that jersey but winning a championship. I don't care what the circumstances was. I don't care what our record was. I'm only here. People got to understand you only get one opportunity at life. You know, and what I would have done whatever it took to win a title. And I had a lot of passionate and immature moments, you know, with the Knicks in the locker room. From a perspective of we're going to work hard, you know, we're going to win. You're going to be, you know, we're going to play together, and I wanted to play. You know, I didn't want to be developing, you know, these young players who were developing, right? And quite frankly, I don't think we had the team to win a title. But my mindset, I already made up my mind, right? That I'm going to give it my all when I get to when I get there. And I got traded early. I got released early in February.
Yeah, bought out, right? Yeah.
Yeah, because I had a little incident. It was a small one, but I thought after that incident, people went on with their careers, and I thought they did well. You know, which I was proud of. You know, because I felt like I've been through it all. I've been the man on teams where every possession the ball went through me for the most part, and I've been on a team where it didn't. Right. So and I won, and you know, so from that perspective, you know, I felt like I want to just let people know what it was, and especially we here in New York City, so we trying to win a title. So that only lasted like 5 months. You know, from that perspective. So, but that, and then also my sister passed away October 18th. So the whole training camp, people don't even understand. The whole training camp, I wasn't going to sleep until 8 a.m. I couldn't sleep. for a month. My sister passed away, and actually Alan Houston came to the funeral, which I'm really grateful. Thank you, Alan. Mr. Mills came, so thank you, Mr. Mills. They came to the funeral, but my mindset was I was all messed up. I wasn't getting sleep. I was cranky every morning. I couldn't sleep because I kept thinking she was there. So it started out bad, with me in New York City, and I was rushing to try to get this title, to try to figure out how we're gonna get this title. And meanwhile, I think not all the players understood what that meant when you're trying to win the title. You got to lock in, right? You got to bite down,
sacrifice.
Right?
And
And so it wasn't a great experience, but then it was on the other hand, it was that jersey's hanging up. I did it. The kid from LaSalle, Long Island City, was a Knick, and that's I'm satisfied with that. I'm super honored to have that. If I didn't wear that Knick jersey, I don't know. Honestly, I probably would have been depressed. I'm not gonna lie. I probably would have been depressed at certain days. And I'm still kind of depressed that I wasn't drafted in 1999. I still bring it up to this day. I still get upset about that. The fans think they get upset about it. I still get mad about it. I talk to my wife, and I'm like, God damn, the Knicks didn't draft me.
Especially since the guy never played. Also, Frederick Weiss never played in the NBA.
Yeah, the guy didn't even play. Hopefully one day I'll be able to come back and do something with the Knicks. Hopefully one day I'll come back, and be a part of a championship with the Knicks.
And Metta, we appreciate so much of your time here today. It's been amazing, picking your brain as NBA genius. Really getting to hear your stories has been incredible. We'll close out with this because I think it's really fascinating. Getting in the league, you got old MJ, of course, Kobe in his prime, the opportunity to play against him, and then winning a championship with him, which I can't even imagine that feeling. And then seeing LeBron here, curious just from your perspective of having to see in the debate show, the three greatest of all time or whatever, just from your perspective of seeing Jordan, Kobe, and LeBron throughout your career and what that perspective was like.
I mean, it's incredible. I remember one time I came out and said, Jordan's the best player ever. And then Kobe texted me. He said, Matt, how you going to say Jordan the best? He called me, actually. He ain't even text me. And Kobe never called me. Matt, how you going to say Jordan the best? And I said, yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. I said, I came out next day. Hey, Kobe's the best ever. But it's so hard, man. These guys are they're all icons. LeBron's gonna go down as the greatest ever. That's it. Now Jordan's my favorite player ever. I personally think Jordan's the greatest ever. I think I can make that debate. Jordan missed 2 years because his dad passed away. He was depressed. That could have easily been a couple titles. No disrespect to the Rockets. And he retired both times after he won the title. Right? He could have won 8, 10. So from that perspective, and taking in consideration that his pops passed away, and that's why he retired, Jordan, in my opinion, is the best player. But LeBron should go down as the best player. Even I think the NBA gave it to Jordan, I think, something like that the other day.
Oh, the MVP, they named the MVP after him. Yeah.
They named him. I'm happy about that, honestly. But I feel like LeBron's going to go down and should go down as the best player because look at everything he's done, right? From the fact that he's with his family still to this day, right? He's married to his high school sweetheart to this day. That's incredible. It's so hard to do that as an athlete. Then you look at, his schooling. Now, I wouldn't say he's like a politician, but he's doing his best, right? He's doing his best. Maybe he's making mistakes, but we all make mistakes, in terms of what we do. Then you talk about his game. And you talk about he's still training and eating the right way to do this at this age. I mean, some days I think he's the best in the league. I literally think he's the best in the league still. So from that perspective, and then his numbers are just continuing to rise. And he's taking care, and the thing what he's doing is he's taking care of his body. That's why his stats keep going up. He's doing what it takes. He's doing what it takes, right? No matter if he's whatever, getting more points and stat padding, whatever the case may be, the numbers don't lie, right? And from that perspective, I think he deserves it because he did what it took to be number one. Just imagine that. having the opportunity to be the best player ever, even from I had the opportunity to have a better career than what I had. Maybe not be the best ever, but I had the opportunity to not get suspended, right? To add on more stats and to go higher in the record books, right? I didn't take advantage of those opportunities. LeBron did, right? And every team he goes to, he stays there. He's a role model for the next player. The next players coming in. Don't always request trades when you're not happy. You never heard LeBron come out and say, "Hey, I want to request a trade." Right? He's not perfect, but he does a lot of great things. That's mean that he can be a role model for the next players, for players coming up. So from that perspective, I really and truly believe he deserves to go down as the greatest player ever.
Wow, that's interesting. Yeah, and as a New Yorker, a St. John's fan, Knicks fan, everything like that, I would just want to thank you for representing New York and New York City so much. And it's been an honor to talk to you. And hopefully we can get you on again someday and have even more time to talk to you. Just pick your brain about New York City and New York City sports. It's been great having you on Bad Weather Fans. I really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, Bad Weather Fans all day. Thanks for having me. And you guys have a good day. Happy holidays also.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you again to Metta World Peace. Really enjoyed that conversation. We will have to do that again. There's so much more. I feel like, Alex, we just, kind of tap the surface, scratch the surface, not tap the surface. I don't know.
Tap the surface.
I don't know.
Well, you can
Who
tap
says
it if
that?
you want.
I'm like combining cliches. Terrible. But no, I think we'll have a lot of fun. We'll have to have Metta on again.
Yeah, that was great. It was great. I love the way he ended it with like giving us a shout out also. And he's just really seemed like really genuine and fun to talk to.
Yeah, it was a blast. So love having these interviews. Don't forget, guys, when you listen to this podcast, go ahead and give a 5-star rating if you're listening on Apple. Leave a comment, follow the show. And if you're watching on YouTube, maybe you want to see the video portion of this, go ahead to YouTube, just type in Bad Weather Fans, and you can see our interview with Metta World Peace. Other interviews on there include Tracy McGrady, Richard Jefferson, Chris Childs, Kerry Kittles, just to name a few, as we continue to knock out some of these awesome former NBA players. We really loved it. All right, it'll be episode 150 next. Where will the Nets and Knicks be? Who knows, as these teams can be volatile at times. But Alex, good stuff as always, and I'll chat with you later.
Thank you. This was a lot of fun. Talk soon.